Mark Lawrence. Burial. I just got back from a Gamblers Anonymous meeting last week. And the first guy gets up there and says, wow, I had to come back in because I'm thinking about betting preseason football. But that's right around the corner, and the temptation will be dangling out there. And I'm sure the FanDuel people would love to tempt you into thinking that this was something you could make a spar on. I don't know that it is. And the man who would probably be on the opposite side of that argument joins us right now from outpick.com, and, of course, Monster when it comes to any kind of NFL inside information. He's the number one guy. Mr. Jason Cole joins us here on the program. Jason, how are you, my friend?
I'm great. I always thought that betting on preseason football is, without question, the lowest form of degeneracy.
You're talking to our audience here. That's saying a lot. We were betting Korean baseball during the pandemic. Yeah.
Knowing the audience for the show, I think that proves nothing.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
I'm not sure I agree with that with Jason Cole. I mean, that might have been true several years ago, but now with the expansion that there's been in wagering, there are definitely lower forms of degeneracy. Would you agree, Mike Lubie Lubitz? How are you, by the way? Welcome to the show, a Degenerate Friday. Sorry we missed you guys in the morning yesterday. It was kind of a thrill in Manila yesterday afternoon when Lubie returned for the Mike Mayo lunchbox. A very odd session of the program, as there were 4 gigantic sub sandwiches that were placed on the table by the great proprietors at Seaside Subs in Lighthouse Point and that Cove Shopping Center. Great place. Very refreshing stuff. Innovative approach to making sub sandwiches. Place was packed, but Lubie did not partake at all in any of the dining at the time. Now, you still managed to take a very substantial doggy bag home. I don't know. Did you get into any of that stuff yet?
No.
Or is it all still in the fridge? How are you, by the way? Are you okay, kid? You look good. That's all that matters. You look good.
I feel better. I've never had this. Like when people have talked about they've had stomach stuff, I never understood what they were talking about. Like I felt nauseous and stuff like that before, but I've never had other things with my stomach. This is really weird. It's uncomfortable. I feel better, like all the way I felt yesterday, where I felt out of it and I just felt groggy. Like I feel better in that regard.
You looked green yesterday, a little green.
I felt really out of it. I just didn't. I felt off kilter, and my stomach sucked. Now I feel better. I feel actually almost fine, except for my stomach is a disaster, and I don't. I guess it could only come from something I ate, but like, how long does that last? Like, it's been 2 days.
Till it goes away. That's the problem.
Exactly.
I mean, you might need something to treat it. It's possible, or you could just wait it out.
Yeah, do you treat that? Like,
that's my MO. By the time I get to a doctor, I'm already cured.
Well, I'm not going to a doctor.
No doctor on this. I mean,
like when you're constipated, right? I know there's a million things for that. So is there anything for the other way? Like I presume there is, but I've never had this before.
Like, there is.
Okay.
Don't you take Imodium? Doesn't that cure that? Imodium.
I'll look it up. I don't know. I've never had it. So
you have like chronic diarrhea or something like that, or whatever it is. Constant urge.
Yes.
To make a number 2.
Great way to start.
All right, so you may be disappearing. Yeah, it's a good way. I mean, the people are having their breakfast right now. We apologize. But, what are you going to do? It's no worse than watching Mike eat at lunchtime. Not you, not this Mike.
Mayo.
But our beloved Mike Mayo.
Oh
who, yesterday, I mean,
he's sick. He literally, the way he was eating.
That tuna thing, when he shoved that in his face and he had the tuna smeared on his cheeks. I hope he does that again today because he has some, very respectable young lady that he used to work with at the Sun Sentinel. Probably doesn't know any of these habits of his, coming out to take pictures. So some publicity shots for the Mike Mayo Lunchbox, which is taking off. I mean, the show is just a huge smash hit. I tell you what's a good mark of a show, and this is true of the Mike Mayo Lunchbox. It may also be, I guess it gets a little push because he mentions his stuff on that Let's Eat South Florida Facebook page, which has 115,000 subscribers. But we go to a place and then you'll see a post. Oh, yeah, we went there right after we saw it on the show. And it was great. It happened with the Union Kitchen and Bar, where I saw some people went in there and said it was everything that it was described to be on the program. Because, I mean, it's hard to refute, right? You're looking at this stuff and saying all of this is sensational, right?
Yeah.
Have we ever sent anything back?
Oh no.
Any of the shows that we've been on? Never, right?
No.
Although Mayo has pushed back with a few, well, you know what? It could have used a little more salt. It's like, hey, shut up, Mike. We just had like a giant free meal. I mean, I'm not going to complain about it. Well, you want to talk to a manager. He'll be joining us later on, which is great. And then we'll be out at Gulfstream Park later on today, which is always a lot of fun, although it may not be as much fun for you, Mike Lubie Lubitz. But we shall see. All right, we should dedicate it to Degenerate Friday. We'll have our handicappers on. A professor's going to join us. He'll have a big board. Mike Mayo later on, a gambling gourmet. The Greek, who is a unique character. There's no question about that. One of a kind. And as we say, I think when Lou Gehrig wrote the speech, or read it, I don't know, did he ad-lib that? Today I feel like the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Do you think he had that written down? Was that a preconceived notion? Or was he standing there looking at the crowd at Yankee Stadium, almost ready to, pull the covers up on his deathbed? And he looks around and says, today, today, today. Did he say it 3 times, or was that the sound system? I think he might have said it 3 times. Today, 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 today. I feel like the luckiest man on the face of the earth. We have that man coming up, and that would be in the form of the Greek, who I believe to be, if it wasn't Lou Gehrig, it was the Greek as the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Not so lucky. I guess he's lucky, but not so lucky overall in terms of degenerate gambling. Phil Mickelson, who's very much in the news. A big 2-page spread in the sports section, plus the back cover of the New York Post. And check this out, Lubie. This details. Now, this is interesting because a guy that he was gambling with was a gambling partner and a friend of, and also ended up doing 5 years in prison in that Dean Foods insider trading case that Phil was not just implicated in, but Phil had to pay like $1 million back to the government in ill-begotten gains from insider trading, which, it's really kind of a questionable gray area, isn't it? I mean, who isn't trading with insider information? You hear about something, it was like when they put Martha Stewart in jail. You talk about a witch hunt. Where, what was she supposed to do? A guy calls her and says, hey, listen, this stock is about to tank. You ought to get out of it right away. Yeah, what are you going to do? Go, oh, no, I can't do that because you told me about it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and eat it. Of course you're not going to do that. Your first thing is going to be, really? Joe says it's going to tank? I'm selling.
Yep.
Is that a crime, Lubie? I mean, should that be subjected to criminal activity and actual incarceration? Trump might not do a day on all of this shit that he's done. And they threw Martha in jail for 5 months.
Yep.
It was unfortunately, familiar with this sentencing language. It was the 5 and 5, 5 in, 5 out type of deal. They give that as like one of their lighter sentences. Yeah. And if you go to trial, that could have been like 2-3 years. So watch what you're saying there, Donnie. You might not want this to go all the way. Mickelson was involved with this guy. His name is Billy Walters, a known gambler. There's a book out now. I don't know. Is it even a book? Is it a book if it's online or on some, internet site that the golf, I don't even know if it's a PGA. It can't be a PGA site. They wouldn't publish this stuff because it's not particularly flattering, although they're not big fans of Phil Mickelson anymore at the PGA, are they? Anyway, the story goes that Phil, he has admitted to his gambling. It's come up, right, where people were chasing him for money. And it was known that he had bet, like hundreds of thousands of dollars on various games and sporting events. But supposedly he's bet over $1 billion, $1 billion, and lost $100 million overall, according to this Bill Walters. All right, Billy Walters, who has reason to sort of get some kind of retribution or be vindictive about Phil Mickelson because his contention is that Phil could have easily testified at his trial. He ended up doing 5 years in prison. And that was for the insider trading in the Dean Foods deal. And he claims that he told Phil, and that Phil knows this to be true, that he had no insider information on Dean Foods, that he was just going off his own instincts or whatever. And yet the government somehow was able to prove to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt that he did have inside information. He went to prison for 5 years. And he was saying that if Phil had just come forward at his trial and testified and said, no, he told me he didn't have any inside information. I made these moves based on his instincts. He made the moves based on his instincts. And there's no way that this guy's guilty of insider trading. That would have been it. And then on top of that, Walters, this gets pretty bizarre. Walters says that while he was in prison, his daughter committed suicide.
Oh God.
And he partially blames Phil for the death of his daughter because he says had he not been incarcerated, he probably would have been able to save her. That he had a kind of relationship he might have been able to, do something, whatever, find her some kind of counseling, rehab, anything. But she wouldn't be dead today, according to Walters, if it wasn't for the fact that Phil decided, hey, I'm not saying anything. I'm not showing up in court, and I'm not going to testify in your defense, even though I know you to be innocent. So there's some reason there to believe that maybe this guy might have exaggerated some of this stuff. No, Libby, what would you tend to believe? Now, the other side of that coin, though, is that the co-author of the book is a very reputable guy that we've had on the show many times, and I believe he's a fan of coming on the program. We might want to get him on again because this is very interesting. One Armin Katayan.
Oh, Armin. Okay.
Now, you wouldn't think that Armin Katayan would be, I mean, with his reputation and, his investigative reporting has, been, I would imagine, rewarded and awarded with all kinds of honors and distinction. And he seems to be somebody who's extremely credible when it comes to his reporting. Armin Katayan, is he a guy that's just making shit up? What do you think?
No. Even to today, he's still a true blue investigative reporter. We know that. Like even his writings, the books take years. We have him on with every book he has out. He always tells us it takes him years to write these books. Like
I believe him to be a credible reporter. I just
100%. do. He doesn't go with anything until he knows he can prove it.
Okay, so he co-authored this book. It's not like he's making these contentions, but he was the guy, one of those, I guess, I don't know if it's as told to, but he was the co-author on this book with Billy Walters. You would think that he would not want to associate himself with anything that was just, a flaming exaggeration of the truth. What do you think, Lubie?
No way.
Does that add credibility to this Billy Walters claims that Phil is the ultimate degenerate?
Yeah, it's not good for Phil. I mean, it doesn't mean 100% that he did these things, but it means he did something. Like Armin's not writing this book.
Well, nothing that he did was illegal. I guess, I don't know. Maybe he was placing these bets with illegal sources. That's possible. But, I mean, it's not like he's in any jeopardy, and Phil, it's embarrassing, I guess, more so than – because nobody wants to be known as a stone-cold loser. I mean, no matter how much money you have, Lubie, do you really want to be known as a guy that, lost your ass gambling on sports like us?
Well, the problem is one of the reports in the book is that he bet on the 2012 Ryder Cup that he was playing in. That is
he asked Walters to bet on it for him, and Walters claims he wouldn't do it.
So, but that's the thing is.
So we don't know if that's true or not.
He says he didn't do that. I don't know. To me, it feels like he did. It feels like he's such a fucking degenerate. Like not the degenerate you use where you use it lovingly. Like he's a fucking degenerate. That if he's because we did the math, Ken and I yesterday, the professor and I. You have to bet at least 9 times a day. At least.
Well, that's what it says. Yeah.
And at one point, he bet 43 times in a day. Like you're betting like that. I'm sorry. There's no way.
You're approaching Sonny Hirsch type of stature at that point.
It's fucking no. You're betting like that. I believe the fucking guy, Walters. Like I think he did try to bet on the Ryder Cup, and that gets into illegal. Like that, literally, you're not allowed to.
Let's say half of it is true in the numerology. I mean, it's still a staggering amount of money. Now the guy's a billionaire today, or so he claims, and could be the big reason why he told the sheik there that you know what, I play great out of the sand. I've always been. If you look at my record, sand saves, I'm probably at or near the top of the list, right? With Phil Mickelson. So why would he care about playing golf in the desert? Of course, he was going to take the $200 million from the Saudis. It was in hock up to his ass to various bookmakers and bookmaking entities. $100 million in total gambling losses. That figure had been reported at $40 million. So, I mean, $40 million is a lot of money to lose, Lubie, whether you have $1 billion or not. I don't know. It's like James Conn and the gambler syndrome. What gives you the thrill? If you win $50, if you bet $50 on a game, you're thrilled. I mean, it's not a life-changing score for you, but you're happy that you won 50. To somebody else, that might be 500. Doesn't do anything for him. Yeah. In this case with Phil, it was like a couple of 100,000, and it wasn't doing anything for him.
That's crazy.
So, according to this numerology and the reports of Walters in this particular literary effort, $400,000 was the amount that Walter says Mickelson asked him to bet on his behalf on the U.S. to win the Ryder Cup in 2012, which, by the way, they lost. So maybe it's fortunate that he didn't get that bet down. He's assuming that Phil might have gotten the bet down somewhere else. 858 times he wagered $220,000 to win $200,000 on a football, basketball, or baseball game. So you're putting up $220 to win. You have to pay the 10% juice right on the 10-cent line. $220,000 to win $200,000. He did that 858 times. He had almost $250,000 riding on a ball game. And then 1,115 times he wagered 110 to win 100 on a sporting event. 3,154 bets Mickelson made in 2011, an average of nearly 9 per day. On June 22nd of that year, he allegedly made 43 bets on baseball games and lost 143,000. You got to love this guy if you're watching the show, no? Phil Mickelson is now the poster child for this program.
100%. Yes, 100%.
How do we not get Phil on the show? I think we're going to need him on the show. No?
Andy's like, that's not unusual.
There he is on the back page. Phil the Bill.
Phil the Bill.
Book alleges Mickelson bet $1 billion and lost $100 million, and he doesn't deny it. But, I mean, it's all relative, isn't it, Lubie? Look, if he's still a billionaire and he, bet $1 billion, he only lost $100 million. That's not bad, actually. Would you take that? So, essentially, he lost the juice. He broke even on his bets. This Walters guy was giving him the selection stuff. That was the thing. And then Walters says that they were partners on betting because Walters' acumen was so well known for picking winners. It's kind of like the Greek, right? Where he calls certain books and they just hang up the phone. Sorry, Greek. We don't have time for you today. Because Walters apparently had some very strict limits placed by books because he was winning all the time. So they would only allow him to bet like $50,000 a game, whereas he could go ahead and be partners with Phil on a $220,000 wager. Maybe not. I guess Phil was putting up the money and he was getting half of the action for giving Phil, the side that was going to win. He still ended up a loser. He must have branched out and got on his own when this guy went to the slammer, no?
Sure.
Or was he taking those calls? This is a call from a correctional facility. Have you gotten a call from anybody in jail, Lubie, in your lifetime? It's
No.
kinda, it's kind of weird. I don't even answer the phone that often, but you'll pick up the phone and you'll hear this is a call from a correctional facility. That they really
Besides
kind
that,
of like the same emphasis that Donnie Boy had when he was standing out there in the cold, and he said,
you were
"We're going to go down to the Capitol." And he thinks that Jack Smith is deranged. Unbelievable.
Oh, good.
All right. We're going to come back. We'll get things rolling here. I'm glad Lubie's feeling good enough to do the show. You're still on the set, which is good. So maybe that urge is dissipated a little bit because, when you concentrate on something else, sometimes you kill that. I mean, that was one of the tough parts about doing 4 hours of morning drive radio after drinking 3 giant cups of Dunkin' Donuts coffee. It'd be like 7:15. You just happen to see the program director show up. She's turning on the radio to see what garbage you're doing that day. And next thing you know, you got to run to the bathroom. Okay, Lubie, take it.
Just go to break. I mean,
shouldn't they have a porta-san in the studios?
I know. We had long enough breaks where you can make it happen. Here's where it's tough because our breaks are like a minute. So it's like,
whose idea was that, man? Because you think people have short attention spans when it comes to commercials?
They
right.
do.
Can't we play that Jardiance ad in this show? Just even if we give it away.
Oh, there you go.
So I could see that.
Oh my God.
I want to say, she's a little heavy, this woman. And she does this stupid dance, and then she changes outfits and keeps dancing because she's taking this crappy drug to fight diabetes. It's like, why don't you just go on a diet? Turn this into a Zumba class. You'd be better off than, talking about how wonderful this drug is. All right, the Greek going to join us here in just a few seconds. We'll get some selections. The Greek's all in on betting preseason football. I don't think it's as sick as Jason Cole implied. Betting WNBA halftime over-unders like Alex Sufreen does, that's the lowest form of degeneracy. That's not even it, is it? But what would be lower than that?
It's up there.
Betting on cornhole tournaments?
Yeah.
Oh, you might be able to pick winners there. I'm not sure.
I mean, you can bet on anything.
In-game tennis betting where, you're betting on whether or not the second serve is going to be deep in the box.
That's pretty rough.
Well, what would do it? I mean, you can't really count horse racing in there. That comes under one banner, and that's generally accepted. What would be the lowest form of degeneracy? We'll take some speculation on that. The lowest form of degeneracy is what? In terms of betting, I mean, we know that degeneracy is a broad term that applies to many different areas and behaviors. So, there are probably, more depraved interpretations of what is the lowest form of degeneracy. But as far as betting goes, if you're betting on what? The Pro Bowl in football?
Oh, yeah, that's bad. That's pretty rough.
It's pretty rough, yeah. All right, we'll see what the Greek thinks about that. He's coming up in just a few moments here at Degenerate Friday on the Defo Show. We do have Mike Lubie Lubitz with us. If he disappears for a while, you know what he's doing. And we'll be out at Gulfstream Park later on today, and that should be a lot of fun. Tony Segreno. And, wow, I mean, is it true? The lovely Kim Ruddy is going to be joining us?
Yes, sir.
Very good, man. All right, she was able to deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, talk about health issues. This poor woman, it's amazing, and still manages. See, just like you today, you're pulling a Ruddy because you look fine, and you're sick as a dog. Which you would have never known, right? With the Rudster, never known that this woman had anything going on. Had lupus, which causes. I mean, you talk about complications. My God. I remember seeing her. She opened her purse and she had like 80 prescription bottles.
Yeah, it's like a pharmacy. Yep.
Pharmacy. It's like you ran into the Median cartel or something, and they were pushing OxyContin. I don't know. I mean, that were more drugs in there than there were at Woodstock. It was amazing. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that
The time.
it's a lot of drugs, Libby. So 7:27. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. To make the right choice for your home, call Choice Mortgage today.
The great Lawrence Taylor with us here at 940 Wins, 1230 The Zone. Your relationship with Parcells.
We've always been friends from the first time I met him in the University of North Carolina. And Bill was a great guy because he would get on the bus. We'd get on the bus on Sunday. You know, getting ready to play the game. We get on the bus and he'll go through his roll call. He look down that row. He say, LT, you here? And I would say, yeah, coach, I'm here. He would say, okay, bus driver, let's go. We got enough to win.
That's great. From South Florida to the entire world, here is Defo joined by Lubie on the Defo Show.
Obviously, the great part of that story was suspect whether or not Taylor was on the bus. And Parcells knew that, very sheepishly asking, hey, are you here, LT? Okay, let's go. Now we're good. All right, if you have this guy on your team, you're going to be a winner. And I don't know, maybe second only to Billy Walters in terms of gambling stories that he can relate. This is obviously one that's loaded with all of this stuff about Phil Mickelson losing $100 million. We welcome to the show one of our favorites, and a degenerate's degenerate. The Greek joins us here on the program. Greek, how are you, my friend?
I am great. What a great that book's going to sell a lot in the gambling community.
Oh
I'm
my
sure
God.
at Circa they're going to give it out to everybody. Circa, and
They should give it out at Gamblers Anonymous, no?
yeah, I don't like. I don't know. To me, it's like 50-50 because everybody knows that about Phil. I mean, I know people in Vegas who told me stories about him. Saying he bet on the Ryder Cup or tried. I mean, it's his word against his. Like, this goes back to me when Jose Canseco wrote that book and nobody sued him for slander.
Right.
So if Phil Mickelson doesn't sue him, it's true. He had a comment. He said, "Oh, I never bet on it." But all the stories now that you're hearing that were circulating, which around for years, and him being broke, which was crazy, but he got $200 million from Live. They all sound to be true. But I did know some people in Vegas who said, he loved his sports bet. I mean, his comment was, "Yeah, everybody knew I like to have a friendly bet once in a while." A friendly bet is $100, not 100,000. But the golf community, it's not like the NFL or baseball or basketball or hockey. There's nothing they could do to him. I mean, obviously his age, he's playing with Live now, so there's really nothing that they can do. It's not great for the game, and it's not great for him. But I think something that you and I knew for a long time because of who we are and what we were around was just how big gambling is, and it was just one of the biggest secrets, forever in the country. And now they're seeing these numbers and stories like that, and they're, shocked.
Well, I mean, if you look at who's taken over virtually everything, all right? I mean, almost every other commercial now, is for some gambling enterprise, including, and we're being led to believe that, like in the middle of shooting scenes, Jamie Foxx is like, "I want to tell you, oh no, look at that, the Celtics won," and he just middle of take two, Scorsese's screaming, "Come on, Jamie, stick to the script." And he's got his cell phone out. I mean, I don't know that people are betting to that extent. You would probably, you probably more so than me, but I had heard stories about Phil's wagering acumen, not acumen, but I guess his penchant for it. Yeah, long time ago, where there were stories about him putting huge bets in at Vegas sports books on various sporting events. How do you feel about this, though, Greek? I mean, it's interesting because, supposedly, I mean, Pete Rose will go to his grave saying that he never bet against the Reds, that he was betting on his own team. How do you, and now we have these Iowa guys, and then they're all, I don't know what the punishment would be. I guess, will they be banned from college football? Because Iowa and Iowa State, there are more names being added all the time that they were betting on their own team. I mean, it only becomes a problem for me when you're betting against your own team. I guess that you're betting on the game at all, is probably not a good look or a good optic, as they say. But how do you feel about it? I mean, if a guy wants to bet $400,000 that U.S. wins the Ryder Cup and he's on the U.S. team, does that bother you, or does that make you feel even better about it?
It doesn't bother me because of my background and who I am, and I gambled for years. But I think to the average person, it might bother them because, again, if somebody bets, they can bet 1 week on the team, then 1 week off the team.
Yeah,
I think you're always going to get this. It goes back to Paul Hornung, Alex Karras. I mean, you're always going to get guys who bet. I don't think at the NFL level or NBA level because the referees are different, but I'm talking the players. There's just so much money these guys make in sneaker deals and other deals that it's not worth it. But I think in college, yes. I think you saw I don't know if you watched the Johnny Manziel thing where he was making $1 million selling autographs. These kids are looking to make money and they're going to, and sports betting gives them another angle. If you get caught sports betting in college, you should lose your eligibility, obviously. But in the pros, I don't think you have to worry about the players because they make too much money. Years ago, yes, I think it was more of a skill that was relative, but I mean, let's not forget Joe Namath in 1970, whatever it was, 68, 70, signed for $400,000.
Yeah.
You get out of bed for $400,000.
And that was for like 3 years, right?
Yeah. I don't think players betting, no. But refs, coaches, I don't even think coaches. I mean, you saw the guy from Alabama, that coach. I just think,
that was baseball, though.
Yeah. But I'm still betting. I mean, again, I think even Pete Rose, I still believe in my heart. I've told you this a lot of times about Pete Rose. If Pete Rose acted different, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I don't believe that Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because of betting. Yes, that was the reason, but it was his conduct after betting and his behavior toward Major League Baseball and going up to Hall of Fame and signing the autographs. And I didn't bet, then I did bet. I think if he just laid low, he would have already been in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. I mean,
Well, and also, I mean, the change of commissioner. It seemed like he might have had a wink-wink deal with Bart Giamatti that okay, you're going to sit out for a year, apply for reinstatement. It's a lifetime ban, but you're coming back after 1 year. And then Giamatti checked out, right? And Faye Vincent came in.
But he cursed out Giamatti and wished him a heart attack the next day. So I don't think it was.
No, that's true. Yeah, I mean, he might not have been as lenient as he was when they signed the deal.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think if he was in good with him, he'd be like, all right, it's my punishment, and walked away if it was a year. Just like the managers for the baseball team, the Astros and the Red Sox. And then they come back a year later, they play golf in Capri, Italy, and they come back later and they sign $8 million deals. Yeah, I'll sit out for a year too. I'll sit out for 5 years. Who cares if I'm coming back and making that money?
Yeah.
But I just think gambling more and more is part of our society, just like marijuana. And I just think that people didn't realize it or the amount of numbers. But local people can send numbers in that would blow people's minds that, over a course of a week and to thing. I mean, it's, Jersey's 5th year was a couple of days ago for sports betting. And they've been in existence 5 years, and they said they took in $40 billion. $40 billion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's there. I mean, but I think when any kind of an athlete gets involved in something like this, I don't think it's a shot when Phil Mickelson comes out that he bet, because there were so many rumors about him. And remember, he had that stock problem. It was inside trading. To me, stocks is the same thing as a form of gambling. It's not gambling, but you're gambling on stocks. So I think there was always an edge for him that he liked to bet. But yeah, I think if it was the Masters week and it came out, it might be a bigger thing.
Or if he had bet on Greg Norman to win the Masters, and while he's coming down, or if he had Tiger in that battle at Doral, and he had $200,000 on Woods, you could see where that would be a problem. I guess just even the notion that there's any money riding on the event and it's coming from somebody that's actually participating probably leads you to believe that day may come. I mean, you don't think that Pete had to throw Pedro Borbon out there once or twice after he had pitched 6 days in a row because he had to cover an over, and he's winning a ball game 11-4, but he wants to give up 6 more runs.
But our society is one thing; it's numbers. So Phil Mickelson, if the story was Phil Mickelson bet 5,000, nobody gives a shit. Just like Powerball, you hear people at Powerball on a regular week, it's what? 10 million? I'm not going to play. It's not nothing.
Exactly.
But when it's 80, it's big. 10 million is not enough? Are you kidding? You're not making 10 million in 2 lifetimes. Phil Mickelson, if Phil Mickelson was betting and the guy said, yeah, Phil wanted to lay 5 dimes, you'd be like, who gives a shit? Who cares? But the amount of money, which everything escalates the story, pumps it up, and it's, oh my God, I can't believe he bet. But there's no regulations in golf. I was trying to tell these guys that last night when I was out. And they were like looking at me. I said, they can do whatever they want. I mean, what are they going to do to him at the PGA? Kick him out? You know what I mean?
Not at this point, yeah.
Like you said. Yeah, no, but I'm saying, if like you just said was great, if he's betting on the Masters and he's betting on Dustin Johnson, you know what I mean? And he's in it, you'd be like, all right. But I don't know. It's the same thing with the boxers in UFC and, the boxers, they're not supposed to be betting on themselves. But what I don't understand, what I don't understand, and I've said this for years, and maybe it's just me, these guys have so many moves and connections, you don't have to bet. You get one of your friends to bet.
Sure.
I mean, it's that simple. They got entourages that are longer than the lines to get into a strip club. Get one of your guys. Here, go bet. But they think, hey, I'll do it, and I'm above the law, and I'm going to do it. But the best secret is no secret. I think it's interesting for golf and that it comes out there. And a lot of people asked about it to me yesterday and today, but I'm not surprised. I mean, $1 billion is a lot of money, but the guy said over a lifetime, 10 million. But I mean, from what I heard, he would go to Vegas on the weekends and drop a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean, there have been many in that category, including Charles Barkley, famous
Yep.
And he was sort of outed for it because he stiffed a casino for like 400 grand or whatever it was. There have been stories about Mickelson making big wagers forever. That's nothing new. The idea that a guy's betting on his own sport. You mentioned boxers. Many boxers come flat out and say at the press conference, I'm betting my $1 million purse on myself because I know I'm going to take this guy, and I don't want the money if I don't need the payday if I lose. I'm just going to, be so disgraced. I don't even want to think about it. Jockeys, trainers, they bet at the track, and trainers go right up to the window and bet.
Yep.
It's not uncommon.
Your sport you love and play for years is one of the biggest sports where people bet. Tennis. You don't hear anything about that. I mean, again, I just think they're not enough on the scale for people to notice. But when a big number comes out, you're like, wow. You know what I'm saying? You can use any analogy. Or go get some engaged, you see a ring and it's small, you're like, that's nice. She comes with a rock, you're like, whoa, look at that. So, I'm not surprised, but I guess I'm not normal. I'll be the first to say it. My lifestyle and who I am or what I do has always been a little bit above the norm. So I don't think I'm a good scale as a barometer of society, but I'm sure there's a lot of purists out there that are not happy about it. But that's one of the reasons why Phil took $200 million from Liv, because he was, hurting. And what people don't understand is it's simple math. I don't care who you are. If you're spending more than you're making, you're broke. Because when people hear like players and actors and anybody goes broke, how can it be? I always hear people, even the lottery, people go, oh, how can they go broke? They spend more than they have. It's pretty simple.
Sure.
You got 10 apples, you can't spend 12. So I mean that's I think it was I found it to be, when I heard the story, no big deal, but I know it's all over the place. I think the thing that he did wrong, like most people, he said already that I didn't bet on the Ryder Cup. Now, this guy Waters has got a book coming out, and he probably wants the book to sell. Now, he might press the gas and go, he's lying. He did. So Phil better hope there's no text messages out there.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic. Yeah, I mean, it's probably 2012. Yeah, it could be. But Walters, and we were talking about this earlier, and I guess the story's out there. Walters ended up doing 5 years on that Dean Foods thing, and his claim is that if Phil had just testified that he had told him, which he claims he did, that there was no inside information on this. He would have been fine. He wouldn't have gotten the 5 years of incarceration, during which time his daughter committed suicide, which he also feels, is partially on Phil, because he felt that if he wasn't in prison, he would have been able to keep his daughter, prevented her from taking that action. So he has reason to despise Phil Mickelson, no question.
No doubt. But again, like I said, and I said this with A-Rod, Canseco's book, and everybody jumped on me then. If it's a blatant lie, he can sue him for slander.
Sure.
That is slander all day long. And just like Canseco's book, nobody sued him.
No.
10 years later, people come up to me and they go, hey, you were right. When I was on the radio, I was saying it. I said, I don't know if it's true or not. Just like you don't know. The two people who know, something's true, something's not. But if it's not true, you can sue the person. You got to be able to prove that both ways. You know what I mean? Hey, hearsay really doesn't mean anything. But if he's got any kind of proof, and to put in a book, you better have some proof. Because, I mean, that's common sense. I mean, you could write a book about me and say things. If it isn't true, I mean, like, that's not true. It's not a true statement. But, I don't know. I think I feel bad for the guy, obviously. Those two had a falling out. But do I believe it? Yeah, I do. I mean, if you ask me, do I believe it? Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were also saying the guy who co-authored the book with Walters, Armin Katayan, a very reputable guy who we've spoken to many times, and I don't know that he would want to be associated with a bunch of total BS. If I mean, he's got his reputation as an investigative reporter, which is impeccable. So, I don't think you would want to mess with them.
No way. And anytime you're writing a book or doing something, if you're with an author who's decent or reputable, they're going to look at you and go, "Is this true?"
Yeah.
We get in trouble for this. So I believe it. I mean, if you ask me, do I believe it? Yes. Whatever week he was having, if he was chasing or scoring, he was like, hey, you know what? We're going to win. Bada bop, bada bop. I mean, again, you look at the line in morality and what people want to justify or not. So it's like, well, betting wrong if you're betting on your team. Well, the rule is you can't bet. The rule isn't that you can't bet on your team. So technically, when it happens, you're wrong. I mean, that's it. You broke the rule. Johnny Bench, who's a Hall of Famer, and when they bring up Pete Rose, I saw a thing with him, and he just went nuts about Pete Rose. And he's like, and I'm sure he gets the question for years, but he's like, he bet. He wasn't supposed to. That's it. And there are some people, and you know them, I know them. You and I, Lubie, we're not those guys. We always look at the gray line, like, well, whatever. But most people are black and white. Like, you can't bet, whether you're betting on your team or betting against your team. Is it worse to bet against your team? Yes. That goes back to the Sox with the scandal in baseball years ago. But I mean, the rule is you can't bet. I mean,
and it's clear, and it's been there forever. I mean, I remember Greek walking in. First time I went to a Major League Baseball locker room, I was a kid, actually, and my dad was working with this guy that had connections with the Washington Senators, and he knew I loved baseball, so he took me to a couple of games to thank my dad for working on his book, and he took me down to the locker room, and I remember as like an 8-year-old DeForest. I'm reading this sign and saying, "Wow, that's weird." They have a sign like right outside the clubhouse in both sides of every Major League Baseball stadium. You can't bet on baseball. I mean, just clear as a day. Just like they used to have the no bookmaking sign at the track, which you would look at as you were, placing your bets with Lipschitz. So it's interesting.
No, I think it's a great. I mean, again, it's an interesting story for us, our background and what you see, and people are going to ask you. And like I said, since it broke, people called me. I did something with one TV station. They asked me about it. I think also people look for an answer that they want. You know what I mean? Like when you're asking these questions, whatever it is. So if you go against the grain, because the grain is that you shouldn't bet no matter what. If you're playing, that's it, done. But if you're being real and you say, well, the guy likes action, he don't care. You know what I mean? I mean, same thing with Barkley. Now, Barkley never had any problems when he played. It was all after he played. But, and you notice as well as I do, is gambling something, I said this to a guy one night, gambling's something to me that you pick up when you're 45, 50 years old. It's not like golf or tennis. It's usually you've been doing it, right?
Exactly. Started out at, flipping baseball cards.
Yeah.
Playing marbles. Quarters, all of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe, you bump into some people later in life and then all of a sudden they bet, you bet. But, I mean, come on. I mean, we heard the stories about Jordan for years betting and stuff. Never with sports, but, you never know what goes on with these guys. But Barkley, and Barkley got in trouble, like you said, because he lost and didn't pay. But I saw an interview with him about a month ago about gambling. Supposedly he stopped, and he said there was many weekends I went to Vegas and won $1 million. And the guy interviewed him was like, "Wow." He goes, "But there was way more weekends when I went to Vegas and lost $2 million." He goes,
we know that story, if anybody can relate. Although I never won $1 million. Barkley, what was great, the last image I have of Charles Barkley, he was at the Miami Arena, and he was doing a game on TNT, and they were getting ready for the post-game show. But the game, I believe the Heat might have been winning by 10, or they were losing by 10. And they needed to cover like 8 and a hook, and they made a basket or something. And Barkley obviously was invested in this. And so the other two guys, Ernie Anderson and Kenny Smith and Shaq, they're all, primming and propping, primping their face for their on-camera appearance. And Barkley is not facing the camera. He's got his eyes on the court, and he's like, "Yeah, motherfucker!" Because some scrub on the Heat made a basket that had them cover the point spread, which was great. I mean, it was like with seconds to go in a game, and you're thinking, wow, that's a miracle. But I mean, I think at that point he was speaking for the people, and who cared what they said on the post-game show. All right, Greek, any preseason action? I mean, are you in action this weekend? There were a couple of games last night. Any selections for the folks out there?
Tonight, we're going to go with the Giants and Dolphins, and tomorrow the Jags.
The Dolphins, and how insignificant has the preseason come that we're 50 minutes into the show, and that's our first mention that the Dolphins will have their initial exhibition action tonight.
We're talking gambling, and we're talking stuff that is going to be mainstream in our society. See, this puts sports betting in society because everybody. So I had a girl last night. Two girls actually asked me last night about this, about him, and do I believe it? Don't you think these numbers are lies? It's like anything else. It gets out of the sports page and then goes to CNN. I saw it on CNN this morning, so everybody starts talking about it. Says what? So that's obviously why we talk about it. But do I believe the numbers? Yes, no doubt. I mean,
seems logical. I mean, very possible based on things that we've heard, and seen in the past. Because supposedly Phil picked up like $600,000 or something on some bet, and the story was that he's a cheap fuck, and he didn't leave any capital for the teller, which I mean, aren't you going to throw like at least a stake there or something? You're picking up $600,000. Come on, Greek. The guy went and got $600,000 in cash for you, and you're just going to say, "Hey, thanks, Harry. All right, I'll see you next time." You got to throw him something, don't you?
You don't do that. Don't do that.
What's that?
You guys waiting for you in an El Dorado that you owe $2 million outside the door. And they were like, "Why'd you tip us? You owe $2 million."
Well, it's like the people that take the change, at the racetrack when they win like 26-40. And a lot of times the clerk doesn't even put the 40 cents up there, which I have no problem with because I don't want it. But and if anything, you're thinking, well, geez, if you picked up a decent score, say you picked up a dime, you're going to throw the person that gave you the money something, and not that you have to. And then the other side of it, people will argue and say, well, you know what? He doesn't pay me anything when I lose. But I'm like, yeah, but you're not sitting there like a schlep listening to your stupid bets that you're calling off with your 10-cent superfectas and all of your nonsense. And, so throw the guy some grease when you win.
$20, $40 like that. Because I know when I win, they look at me and they go, "Is this freaking kid for real?"
Well, at the track, you're legendary, Greek. I mean, I do they still let you into Gulfstream Park? You've taken so much money out of there. It's a joke. All right, so what were your games again tonight? Well, we want to get some kind of thrill here and maybe an indication. You like the Finns tonight over the Falcons. They're getting 2 and a hook. That's interesting.
I like that. I like the Giants and the Jags tomorrow over Dallas.
Okay. All right. What do you got going this weekend? Anything special?
I got him.
Any special Greek activities this weekend? Any charitable events? You throwing turkeys with Don King somewhere? What's going on?
No, I'm not doing it. I'm just banging around. Have dinner with a friend tomorrow night. I went down to this famous paint art store, print store in Pompano yesterday. The art collection. I was looking at some cool prints.
All right.
My house. That was about it. That was it. Last night I hung out with the friends and had a couple cigars at Strike Cigar Lounge in Boca, where we're doing Greek Gridiron. This year, Greek Gridiron, we're giving a trip away to Vegas, and we're giving away a 2-seater golf cart.
Wow, 2-tier golf cart.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's cool. Real nice with the lights and all the bling on it. So we're doing that.
Is that when your drunken friend sits on the roof? Is that considered 2-tier?
Yeah, that's right.
Picked him up in the woods after he took a dump.
You're brutal.
Just throw him right on the top there. Yeah, that's great.
Our golf stream will do lunch maybe one day.
Nice.
All right, let's get going here, Greek. We have to get together. We've been talking about this for the last 7 years, so let's make it happen.
Let's meet down the track. In a couple weeks. I have so many days vacation, and I got to take them. So let's go down there and meet for lunch and sit at the brunch. Me, you, and Lubie. When you guys are doing the show down there, I'll come down and meet you.
Yeah, come on.
Come on down. Yeah, we're there every Friday, 12 o'clock. It's a beautiful thing.
All right.
Lunch is on us. Lunch is on us.
You got it.
Very good. We can squeeze another lunch out of Joe Beja. No? What do you think?
That's fine.
All right. We're coming back. The professor going to join us. He's got some selections, no doubt, and a big board, and plus, gotta be getting a little, anxious. Not anxious, but optimistic about upcoming wagering on the college football season. No, Lubie, is he already talking? Yeah, he was. Great detail last week on the show.
Yes.
Unbelievable. Broke down several different aspects of betting college football. In a show dedicated to Phil Mickelson, and now the legend of Phil Mickelson. Degenerate Friday here on the Defo Show. We'll come back with more in a moment. The professor going to join us. Now that.
The time.
7:55.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently, we realized it's not just hurricane season that can hurt us. Any time of year, things can happen to your home or business. And the insurance company can be your friend, but they also can be your enemy. Horizon Public Adjusters, Justina Testa, are here for you to help this process go so much easier. Before you call the insurance company, call Horizon Public Adjusters and Justina Testa at 954-809-8752.
Hear me. I am your new president. From this day on, the official language of San Marcos will be Swedish. Silence! In addition to that, all citizens will be required to change their underwear every half hour. Underwear will be worn on the outside so we can check. Furthermore, all children under 16 years old are now 16 years old.
What's the Spanish word for straitjacket?
Power has driven him mad.
Welcome back to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're trying to connect with the professor here for his normally phenomenal segment. You're shaking your head, Lubie, in terms of is he in or out? Do we know?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Yesterday he was in. I mean.
Okay. All right. So we're counting on him checking in. Hopefully he'll be able to do that very shortly. In the meantime, I was just thinking, what a scary proposition this is, Libby. I mean, think about it. What is the more frightening proposition? Is it that we will return the Oval Office to this criminal clown who essentially, I mean, outside of being able to sort of outfox, I outran, I thought the law, well, the law lost in this case, right? Whatever this guy does, I mean, look, any other person that was up on this many criminal charges probably would not be walking around, no? Especially if he's running around the country, grabbing a microphone in front of however many people show up at his idiotic rallies and starts talking about the prosecutor and the judge being deranged and all of this other stuff. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't work for a lot of people, does it, Lubie? You get in front of a judge. What do you? You become, Mr. Humility all of a sudden.
100%.
Yes, Your Honor. No, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor. I mean, that's it, right? When do you ever talk like that except when you're stopped by a cop, right? And you're dead to rights. There's a stink of marijuana in your car. You've had a couple of drinks. You're okay, but, I mean, by the letter of the law, you're not.
No.
And, marijuana alone, I guess, would be enough for them to pull you off the track.
Mm-hmm.
And, the guy says, you mind if we search your car? Now, you're supposed to immediately say no, correct? But, what is your inclination? It's to go, that would be fine, sir. Go ahead and search my car. Because you're going to capitulate to the circumstances, which you would think. I mean, the opposite of that, obviously, is, all this other stuff where, like, Bannon is going off to jail and he's screaming, yeah, you'll never do this to me. Like he was Navalny going to some Russian prison or something. It's like, you did it. What are you talking about? But, I mean, is it scary enough that this guy could become president again? Or would it be more frightening? I'm beginning to believe this. It would be more frightening if somehow, all of this criminal activity that was being prosecuted, cost Trump the nomination and Ron DeSantis became the candidate for president and with a shot to win, which most people would say no shot. How scary is this guy getting, huh? Did you see this latest maneuver here where this is the second elected Democratic judge that he has, or official that he has suspended just arbitrarily? And, the one thing Trump got right, I mean, can you be any more sanctimonious about your position than this asshole? Sorry. I mean, it's passing judgment on a guy that, obviously, has many accomplishments, right? He's the governor of the state of Florida, for Christ's sake, this guy. And all anybody's doing is screaming. And every time he opens his mouth, you're thinking, I can't believe this. I mean, how is this possible? This guy is a candidate for the when David Duke was a candidate, I think he actually was a more suitable candidate, wasn't he? What do you think, Lubie? I mean, it strikes me every day when I watch the news. This McCarthy in the speaker of the House, right? Kevin McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
What a douchebag. People were, the Republicans for years were crying about Nancy Pelosi being senile and having Alzheimer's and demented and all of this other stuff. And, yet she somehow orchestrated this January 6th committee, which I thought did a pretty good job, no? Among congressional committees. When have you ever seen them accomplish anything? Never, right? Greek was talking about Canseco. And, I mean, your lasting image of Canseco is he's putting a syringe in his neck as he's sitting next to Bud Selig at the congressional hearings, and Bud is testifying, going, I didn't know nothing about no juice. He gives a Pentangeli testimony. I don't know nothing about that. And they said he did this and that. How is it possible, right? I mean, that was such a farce. And what did it accomplish in the end there? When you think about it, how comical what was the congressional hearing investigating whether or not they wanted to finally revoke antitrust exemptions from Major League Baseball, which is what? I mean, is there a way to challenge the existing Major League Baseball setup? Could somebody come along, a Mike Veck, and start some new league that, maybe this banana ball takes over instead of regular Major League Baseball because people find guys striking out as a matter of routine to be kind of boring? As baseball, I don't know. It hasn't been as boring this year, has it, Lubie? Am I missing something? Or does it seem like, are there more balls in play, or is it just because we've been watching Luis Ariz with the Marlins?
I mean, the Marlins have been better, so it's made me more interested.
I mean, they played the Yankees tonight. That's big at home.
Yeah. I mean, look, the play is different now. You're seeing more stolen bases. You're seeing more balls in the playing field.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that would make it more interesting. That's what we were calling for.
No doubt. I haven't seen that guy, though. I've been watching a little bit of the Little League World Series, these regional tournaments they have going on, just because there really hasn't been that much being offered. I don't know if I can take another Danny Garcia fight on Showtime. Is he the only guy left in boxing? Showtime, they're great. I mean, they do a good job on the coverage. I'm not a big fan of the, over hyping of when Mauro Ranallo was a blow-by-blow guy. If you listen to Don Dunphy, ringside, considered to be the greatest blow-by-blow guy of all time, and you compare that with, I know the genre has changed and screaming has become in vogue. Look, they had Gus Johnson doing it, for Christ's sake. What is it about Showtime and screaming announcers, Lubie?
No idea.
Is that a CBS thing? Jim Nantz doesn't scream.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, Ian doesn't scream either, but for some reason, Harlan.
They love the screamer. Yeah.
Oof.
My God. Yeah, and Gus Johnson was doing boxing. It was awful. I mean, it was to the point where you couldn't listen to the sound. And one of the great things about a boxing match is the crowd noise. So you don't want to mute the sound, but you did have to mute. I mean, is there a way? Shouldn't TV offer a chance to just mute the announcer and get the ambient sound? Wouldn't that be the way to watch a sporting event? They tried that, right? And that one, it was a horrible failed experiment. When remember, it was NBC. They had no announcers for a Jets game, and that was not received well. And I remember at Keeneland Racecourse, which was a very blue blood, stuffy, rich, Southern. White guy. They thought, well, we'll have. They had for years no track announcer there, which is a huge part. I mean, is the sound of the event not part of the interest and excitement that you get from an event?
I mean, it adds.
I mean that's why it's better to be in a live game, right? You rise with the crowd, and you sort of feel this surge of emotion, no? That you don't get at home unless you're with the Lubitz family and they're cursing each other out. That's so funny. When you play that clip, I know what it is, and I guess a lot of people in the audience probably know what it is by now, but I'm wondering when, somebody's waiting on the phone on hold, you got like a John Feinstein, if you can figure what level of depravity that actually exhibits. Or does it just sound like something that was played in error on a talk show? Oh, shit. I didn't mean to hit that button. Right? There was always the fear that you were going to play the wrong cart when they had the cart system back in the day. And then you would wonder, we used to put like 3 sound bites on one 8-track. These were the old 8-track tapes. You weren't around in radio when this existed, right?
No.
It was a kind of an archaic system, no doubt about it, but we thought it was very sophisticated. So, let's say you were going to play 3 sound bites during the course of a sportscast. We used to have like a 3-minute sound block or time block to do a sportscast. Can you imagine, Louis? I used to be able to give all the scores in a sportscast from like 2 different leagues in the NHL. And I was not a big fan of, the guys that were trying to, shave a little bit of time by saying, the NHL winners last night were the Penguins.
That one, yeah.
You're like, well, who the fuck did they play? What was the score? I had money on that game. Useless. I mean, if you're better off leaving them out at that point, are you not? But we had plenty of time to go ahead and, give all of the scores and embellish a little bit. So-and-so was 2 for 2 in the ball game. And can you believe it? This guy went 6 1/3. And you could play some sound bites also. So you would stack up the sound bites. And then the big source of paranoia was, did you get it back to the place where you wanted it to be? Because if they were out of sync, now you were completely fucked, right? Because you'd be saying something like, okay, and after the game, Ozzie Guillen was saying how much he loved the Cuban government. And then the Lou Gehrig speech would play. And you're like, what? That wasn't supposed to go there. And now your whole sportscast was completely blown. But that was an archaic system. I guess now what? You could easily punch up a wrong button. Or didn't it happen to you where somebody came in and like changed everything when we were at 940 wins?
Some settings.
Or they erased all of the stuff that we had. I think that was by design, didn't you? Should we have taken some DNA samples from the program director? Where, you're thinking, okay, they hate all of the stuff. So, maybe they found some way to delete it all.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like the Trump security tapes there that he was looking at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
Same sort of thing, right? Let's get rid of it. Make sure these guys, anything we can do to compromise the show, we're willing to do. All right. I didn't watch much, you could say it was by the significance of the amount of time I spent on these preseason football games last night. It was 0 time. New England was leading Houston 3-0 near the end of the half. And then did you see this circus catch? I forget who made it for the Houston Texans. And a guy, he catches the ball and then he bobbles it. It goes up in the air and he's sort of gone past the point. His physical momentum is taking him past the point of where, he's going to be able to just have the ball land in his chest. And so he has to reach back and he tips it to himself. And then it was sort of questionable whether he was out of bounds or not. But it went for a touchdown. And then Houston went on to win 20-9. So was that it? We write off the Patriots, right, for the season? But I saw next to none of it, they had a guy named Zappi, like Frank Zappa was quarterback.
Yeah, Bailey Zappi. Yeah.
Who the hell is he?
He's the guy that started like half their games last year.
Oh, Jesus. I like that Tua's not even going to take a snap tonight.
Nah, not this game. Maybe the next game.
You think? I don't know. Does he need to get out there? Well, what would you do? Why would you risk having your quarterback get injured in the preseason? Or remember that there used to be this hardcore drill instructor mentality in football at all levels that you need to practice incessantly.
Yes.
There were 6 preseason games. 6.
Jesus,
14 games in a regular season, 6 preseason. I guess, I don't know. Did they play 6 preseason games when they only played 12 games in a regular season? Is that possible?
I don't know.
When did that happen? I do remember. I mean, am I wrong about this? There was a time, I want to say, when I was covering the Dolphins, where they had 6 preseason games. And we would sit there and try to find some kind of definitive conclusion that you could draw about the team's upcoming season during the course of these 6 ugly, By the time you got to the sixth game, Louis, really, you were ready to blow your brains out. It was time to go Shawshank the warden, just put a gun right under your chin. You couldn't take it anymore. No, well, we got another beauty out here at Hard Rock Stadium. Can you imagine? The Falcons and the Dolphins tonight. Falcons, why is this? Are their backups so superior to the Dolphins that they would be favored on the road in a preseason game? Do they have to establish that winning mentality in Atlanta? I would imagine. Didn't they supersede their expectation last year slightly, Atlanta? I want to say they were a lousy team, a non-factor, but did they not? Am I wrong about this, Lubie? Atlanta last year, were they complete dogs, or did they actually, show signs of life, as they say in horse racing?
They were 7-10. So
okay, so signs of life, right? They were supposed to be awful. They got rid of Matty Ice. They had nothing. Who's quarterbacking for the Falcons now? Do we know?
The guy that was at Cincinnati. The hell's his name? I'll find it. Pinder, something. He was quarterback at Cincinnati.
Okay, so no idea. That was ugly, huh? I was reading a little blip about that Colin Cowherd thing, where he had a list of quarterbacks.
Desmond Ritter is our quarterback.
Okay, is he any good? Do we know?
No, he's horrendous.
Colin Cowherd with a list of quarterbacks who would not win a Super Bowl. I think Mike Mayo mentioned this yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, and on the list includes Dwayne Haskins.
Yes, who's been passed for over a year.
Of course, was killed on the highway here, on 595.
Yeah, down here.
In a very strange incident that, did they ever, get totally to the bottom of what transpired there? Drugs? Something?
No, he was on something 100%, but there's still the whole incident, even then, was weird.
Have you heard any more about that? I mean, did they ever resolve it? I know they know, the guy that was driving the truck that hit him wasn't charged with anything. I mean, if you're walking on 595, unless, you just got out of a car that you pulled off the side of the road, not a good thing, right? 5 a.m. You're crossing the highway. There was a woman involved, and she didn't really seem to come up with anything but very vague answers that didn't seem to satisfy anybody's curiosity as to what actually took place there. Very strange story, no? But nonetheless, dead as a doornail, and not a good thing. I mean, when that shows up on TV, how stupid do you look? Mushnick hates Colin Cowherd. Has Colin Cowherd turned into a guy that's just full of shit?
Oh, yeah, I haven't liked him for years.
Yeah?
He's horrendous.
I don't really stick on, like if I come across the show, which I do occasionally, because you'll see promos for it while I'm watching Saratoga.
Yeah.
Fox Sports 1. And those shows, it's funny that we're doing one, but most of those shows are of zero interest to me. Where they have the topical debate about, and you'll see it's posted, and they have a super up on the screen, and it says, will the Rams ever bounce back in the 2020s? And that's what, and they got 6 guys, and they're all getting like real serious with each other about that. Are you kidding me? What are you talking about? And you're thinking that's crazy. And how insane is Skip Bayless on this fishing expedition? I don't know. Did you ever watch that show? I would see Skip Bayless after his debates with Stephen A. Smith. I was pretty much, I had my fill of Skip Bayless. I would watch it for the comedic entertainment of, somebody trying to make a case for a completely lame contention. There's, a certain art to that, isn't there? Especially when you have a guy that can outscream almost anybody in the aptly named or nicknamed Screaming A. Smith. But Rachel Nichols now is going to be part of this, debate team. They brought her back. She was on ice. And Lil Wayne is going to be one of the other would you be inclined to watch the show, or is that?
No.
Am I just totally out of touch here?
I have no interest in any of it. I think I don't watch the Stephen A. bullshit, and I don't watch the Skip bullshit. I think it's all sucks.
Yeah, the Stephen A., I mean, it's all theatrics at this point. The best was when Stephen A. was with, like, Michael Irvin, and both of them were screaming at the top of their lungs. And you're thinking, what is this? Is this like a revival scene in a James Brown movie? I don't know. It just or the Blues Brothers. It was crazy. I mean, they would just be screaming until they rose up and Jesus came back to life. It was incredible. All right, we're going to come back with more here. The professor's going to join us in about 10 minutes here on the show. So that is great. Finn's in action tonight against Atlanta. What are you looking to see, Mike Lubie? Lubitz?
I have no expectations at all. I'm looking for nothing. The NFL preseason sucks.
Will we be able to draw any conclusions from what takes place tonight? You have a backup quarterback battle, I guess. I mean, is Mike White automatically the number 2 guy? You would not think they would acquire a guy that's going to cost them this kind of money unless he was a definitive number 2 guy.
He's the 2.
Okay. Because I'm beginning to need an interpreter for McDaniel. I mean, he was a little strange, and I kind of liked that before in the way that his coach speak is completely a different language. It's a different vernacular than anybody else's coach speak, is it not? And he sounds like he does. He sounds like he could have been an extra in Oppenheimer, no? The way he explains things. And then you come away and thinking, so does that mean it's going to explode? I don't know. But is he getting more out there in his second year as he becomes a little bit more comfortable with the idea of being a head coach in the NFL? Have you seen any clips of McDaniel? No, nothing?
No.
All right. Because his implication was that, that there was still like an open opportunity there to become the number 2 quarterback for this Skylar, whatever his name is,
Skylar Thompson.
Who, looked good until, he was exposed as a guy that really wasn't up to speed. Which, look, 7th-round draft pick. It was a good story and everything. He looked good in the preseason last year, didn't he? Didn't you think he was going to be all right? And in a couple of games, he was okay. Made a decent account of himself. And then he looked like, it was Cleo Lemon coming back in to quarterback the team. All right, we're coming back with more. The professor going to join us. He'll have a big board. Mike Mayo's a scratch today on today's show. Is that not true?
Yeah.
Had some issue with his mother, so we hope she's okay. Sounds like it's working out. And like you, I mean, no matter what the circumstances, would not miss a free meal. So he'll be coming your way at 12 o'clock today from Gulfstream Park with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, which figures to be somewhat of a lavish production, no? How are you going to be able to accommodate everybody, Louie?
I mean, the professor's, I think, not going to hang around. He just wants to see how to do the setup. And I don't have to be on, to be really honest. I'm sort of out of it. So we will, the 4 of you will get on, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a nice,
All right. Sounds good.
Show.
What can we get, though? I mean, do we get like a Cuban sandwich there for Mayo to tank down? We got to do something. I mean, look, he's on a run the last couple of days. All right, back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:18. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in Plantation, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar, and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Are you looking to buy your first home? Have you been turned down for a loan? Do you need to refinance or get money out of your home? Call Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. He's been helping the South Florida community get mortgages for 30 years.
Hi, this is Michael Kodsey, CEO of Choice Mortgage. We have the most competitive fixed rates in the market. Call me 24/7, 561-441-2730. And remember, I don't just work banking hours. Make the right choice for your home. Call Choice Mortgage today.
Do your little toss. Do your little toss.
Come on.
Oh,
That's it.
Okay.
That's good. Thank God.
Don't do that.
You idiot. Thank God.
Thank God, please. There's nothing to do with God.
We now return to the Defo Show.
I love Mrs. Lubitz throwing it in there at the end there.
That's my favorite part.
This has nothing to do with God. As your father is thanking God. And what was that? I mean, that was an FSU blowout you guys were watching as a family. Talk about, a bizarre, Manson family type of gathering there. Unbelievable. Where, I mean, you were carving up. No pun. Well, I mean, it was a bad pun if it was intended. That's for sure. Carving up the Florida State Seminoles for not executing properly. What was your father calling for? Oh no, I think your mother was calling for a 5-1 toss there. No, 51 toss right, banana left, wedgie up the middle. Type of play there, like Gruden used to describe it. All right. There's always talk about this. The professor going to join us in just a couple of minutes here. There's always talk about this. Is this just a media thing where, and how many times have we referenced this particular line of thinking where, oh, geez, the network executives have to be ready to crawl out of the, top floor window there at 30 Rock, no? Because they have a bad matchup. That was said to be the case. I mean, think about it. You had a chance of getting the Lakers and the Celtics. Even though they're not the same Lakers and Celtics, the imagery would be, hey, here it is, man. It's showtime. You would have thought you were on this strip in Tijuana, yeah.
Lakers, Celtics are more national than Heat Nuggets. Yes, they are.
Heat Nuggets, right? Nobody cares about this big white stiff. Jokic, he could win the MVP every year. He could score 40, grab 35 rebounds. He could start to outstat Wilt Chamberlain in his prime. And, and maybe even, be a leader on defense, which he hardly was. I don't know. Is Jokic playing any D, Lubie? Nothing, right?
Yeah, he's fine. No, he's not a save. No, he plays D. He's not.
Well, he grabs rebounds. Okay, so that's a form of defense.
He's not a star. He's not like a defensive ace, but he's not like a waste. Like he's solid defensively.
Yeah.
He just, his footwork sucks. Like he's a clod. So
man, is he slow? Holy shit! When you think about it, how does this guy doing this? I mean, with that crazy shot too from behind his head. What the fuck is that?
His footwork on offense is like ballet. His footwork on defense, he looks like a fucking clod. Like, to be brutally honest,
he looks like a clod on offense. What are you talking about?
Well, see, offense to me, his vision and
it's not like you're watching Hakeem.
The way he can execute. No, he's not. I'm not talking about his athleticism. His footwork is actually the way he moves on offense, where he gets to the right spot at all times. He puts the ball in the right spot. He doesn't miss his shot.
His passing is great. His eye is great. No question.
It's the way he runs the offense, whether he's in the inside or the perimeter, it's like a ballet. Like he's just the way he runs.
I think it's more like watching Butterbean Ash.
No, that's
without the mitts.
Defense to me. Him running up and down the floor in his defense is a clod. Hey man, offense. It's like it's weird because he is. It's like Luka. It's like watching Luka, but from a guy that's like 7'2". It's
a little bit, yeah. I could see that.
But he's not a sieve on defense.
Luka is Magic Johnson compared to Jokic, though. Well, in terms of looking like a basketball player, even though he does appear to be very awkward, no doubt about it. But I mean, the matchup was good. I don't know. We'd have to check with Jim Sarney, our resident researcher in this category and all other categories for that matter, including all women's sports. Which and that's why I bring this up because after losing the U.S. national team. The Fox executives, I mean, how happy can they be with their investment in the Women's World Cup?
Disaster.
Where you have not only like completely oddball times, 9 o'clock on a Friday night. Who's turning into a women's soccer game between the Netherlands and Sweden? Nobody.
No one cares.
Right? I was just thinking, you know what? I need a good dose of Swedish and Dutch hockey. I mean, soccer, not even hockey. Hockey, I might watch.
I have to watch, yeah.
But I'm not watching this garbage. What are you talking about? And they have to be aware of that, right? I mean, all of the salespeople that took money off the sponsors, they have to be crawling back with an apology for Megan Rapinoe missing a penalty shot, right? Listen, Joe, I thought we were going to have like 1,800 million eyeballs on this thing. And this has to be the biggest stiff at this point of any production. I mean, and it's so early in the tournament, unprecedented, where this team gets knocked out. So what do you think? I mean, are they diving out of windows? Are they offering refunds? Are they telling their sponsors that, hey, listen, we got the World Series this year. A few more bucks. That's the way to sell, Lubie. You just screwed somebody completely. Talk about Glenn Ross, right? You just absolutely hose somebody. And so what do you offer them? A chance to buy something else that is also a ripoff. Depending on the matchup. I don't know. I mean, did the NBA Finals draw, any less of an audience this year than they would have if they had the Celtics and the Lakers playing?
Probably.
Yeah. No, I mean, immediate star power there supersedes virtually everybody in the NBA, no matter how good or better some other players may be at this point. What do you think?
Yeah, probably. But I mean, I don't look. I, as a Heat fan, didn't give a shit. But yes, you would think the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Boston Celtics would draw more than the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. I can 100% admit that. Yes.
Even if the Celtics had made it, if the Lakers had made it, any one of those teams, they probably could have found some salvation in the idea that, well, look, at least we have a marquee market, so to speak. Although I would imagine a professor would try to marginalize, the idea that Boston was a major market of any. Well, what are they? Like the number 5 market? What is Boston?
They're top 10. I don't know where in the top.
You got what? You have New York being number 1.
Yeah, LA.
What would you say? LA 2, Chicago 3.
Then after that, it gets.
Is it like Philly? Are they a giant television market? What would it be? Well, I'll have to ask the people in the ACC as they try to sell commercials on the ACC network in the future, which will be down to nothing. All right. Yeah, but I don't know. Does it really make any difference? It doesn't make any difference to me. I'm watching the finals. I don't care who's in it. Right? Would I have had more interest in it if it was the Lakers and the Celtics? I don't know. I thought, naturally we had a local team in the finals, and we had another one going in hockey, which nobody would have been watching that NHL stuff here in South Florida. I don't know. Are there enough hockey fans to have even made a blip on the radar in terms of South Florida ratings? Or are we not routinely among the worst when it comes to almost any sport other than football here in South Florida for ratings? Where they don't watch anything else, right? That's it. Certainly not out of town teams. All right, the professor ready to go with us, and that's great. Well, let's bring him into the program here while we're having this meaningless discussion about network executives and favorable matchups. I know that would have been a turnoff for you if it was Celtics Lakers. Professor, how are you?
Yeah, it would have been great. I just can't get enough of Boston teams in the national spotlight.
Yes, of course. Do you buy into that? I mean, you're a big sports fan, and
everything
obviously
just freeze?
you make wagers. I don't know. I mean, how much more poorly did the ratings reflect interest in Heat Nuggets than they would have Lakers Celtics? Do you think it was like a big drop off?
Yeah, I think it was a huge drop off.
Oh yeah, okay. All right.
I mean, realistically, sure. I mean, America is not behind Jokic. They're not behind the Nuggets, even though I personally think they're the most fun team in the NBA.
They were very entertaining, yeah.
And yeah, America has basically despised the Miami Heat since the LeBron days. And unlike the LeBron days, they're not really a must-watch despite the success of the franchise. So it's that combination of hatred and not enough star power.
Okay, all right.
Ratings
makes some sense.
pill.
Yeah, well, I mean, imagine though, because we always joke about, well, network executives, they're probably shaving their head and running around, asking people if you're talking to me in the mirror, asking themselves. But the people at Fox have to be, I mean, absolutely beside themselves at this point. What excuse do you make back to your sponsors? Yeah.
I mean, well, look, I don't know if you were a sponsor, how much you were paying for this particular. I'm assuming we're talking about the Women's World Cup.
Women's World Cup, right?
I don't know how much you would pay for this event where like 3/4 of the games are taking place at like 3 and 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. What do we have? Like one primetime game America was involved with, and then I guess another the other day that America would have been involved in theory, Yeah. So I don't know about that in terms of just because the timing was so off. But certainly, if you're Fox, you were not happy with your investment in this World Cup, On the other hand, let's be honest. If you were Fox with Argentina's run in the last one and Messi's run, you were through the roof ecstatic with that result.
Yeah, that worked out well. All right, so it's kind of like gambling a little bit, right? You win some, you lose some, and this looms as a loser. All right.
I mean, plus, let's be honest. If you're buying the rights to the World Cup in America, I assume you're buying it mostly for the Spanish programming. I mean,
could be.
I would have to think, right? Because it's not like English-speaking Americans are so insane about soccer that you're, or maybe it's just cheap to buy them. I don't know what the rights to soccer in America sell for. Like, I mean, honestly, if I'm a network executive for this particular event, for the Women's World Cup, where you're agreeing to show all the games, and like 90% of them are taking place at 4:00 in the morning, what are you paying for this? Like $75? Like, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it was like when you had some university, like when they had the deal with the University of Miami, and you had to air a certain number of baseball games.
Yeah,
which I mean, and nobody wanted to like preempt the Neil Rogers show, and you were thinking that this can't be favorable for the station.
Well, I'm looking at ESPN the other night, and it was close to prime time, maybe even prime time. And they have the Little League World Series of softball on.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, the girls.
And so, I mean, ESPN, if this programming, if the Women's World Cup programming was worth anything, I'd have to think they would have bought it, because
sure,
your option is softball played by countries that I didn't really know played. So, like, Italy was playing Oregon or something like that. And I was like, Italy plays softball? Like that? It doesn't seem like a sport I would think of when I think of the nation of Italy.
All right, well, when you think of Phil Mickelson, should he not be the poster child for this program, Degenerate Friday?
God, I hope not, because I don't want to be coming off.
Well, you don't want to be down 100 million, that's for sure.
Well, not just that. I mean, like,
but just the action alone.
I mean, look, the action's kind of admirable. I can't lie. I mean,
come on.
But okay. First of all, number one,
you're screaming at Ian Poulter.
Like,
miss it, you piece of shit.
If you are watching this show, if you're like. Isn't it kind of more like a cautionary tale, like a lesson we should probably learn but haven't? Because, like, I mean, Phil looks like the scumbag who's let this ruin his life and is going slowly down the drain and happy to do it anyway. And
but
then,
he always finds a way out.
You read average 9 bets a day for a year. Made 43 Major League Baseball bets in one day. Like, those aren't the actions of a happy man. Like, those don't seem like like things are going well for me. Those seems like
if he had an eating problem, he would have looked like Buster Douglas.
Well, look, it's
diabetic coma.
It's like yes, there you go. It's Buster Douglas eats himself to death. It's like the drug addict, and then like. At the start, you knew like the happy guy who did cocaine at parties and had beautiful women on art, and then like 5 years later and he's sucking cock for drug money.
Yeah.
Like you're closer to the I'm blowing guys at the rest stop at the traffic for crack money phase. And then that's
But I mean he was able to absorb it, obviously, and he always finds a way out. I mean,
was he? I mean, we've seen the pictures of Phil, right? Like he may have been financially able to absorb it, maybe, or maybe he sold his soul to the Saudi Arabians. I don't know.
You would have to think that was the case. He was the first guy there,
but he doesn't look like a guy who got out. He looks like a guy who's still right in the thick of it.
Claims he's been rehabilitated and no longer is inclined.
I don't feel like you can bounce back from that. I don't feel like that's a level you can recover from.
That is beyond Art Schlichter. I mean, he makes Schlichter look like he was flipping baseball cards.
Right.
I mean, it's incredible.
Also,
all right. So what do we think about all that? I mean, shame
that there's something miserable about being a top-level professional golfer. Like, I mean, really, again, Tiger is not a happy man. Like, you're not banging Hooters Perkins waitresses at 3:00 in the morning in Orlando.
Sure.
If you're a happy guy, if you're enjoying life, you're not, calling up low rent porn stars and throwing down whatever what were the pills he was popping? Like That's not a man who's enjoying life despite having all the money in the world. Phil, again, doesn't seem like a particularly happy dude. So apparently the life of a big-time golfer does not work out well. I mean, I don't get it. I think I would be happy. It seems like a pretty easy gig. But and look, John Daly is another one. Doesn't seem like a particularly happy dude. Seems like, kind of living a miserable existence.
It's weird with Daly because he gives off a really good vibe. Everybody loved the guy. Yeah.
I mean, it seems like a fun vibe.
Yes.
But it does not necessarily seem like he himself is a happy dude.
Well, I mean, when he was trembling there with the cigarette and
exactly.
That was a very sad. I mean,
alcoholic
not laughing,
gambling
but it was
addict
sad.
who's desperately, hugely overweight,
and he's on the course,
and had been divorced like 6 times. That does not seem like a happy dude. Seems like
really
a dude
drove
who's
his
got
car
some
off a cliff.
Yeah.
That's probably not an element of happiness, or an implication that this is a happy person. All right. So, and what about betting on your own team? What do you feel about that? A guy goes out.
I'm going
to bet like 400,000 on the Ryder Cup team. I want US.
This isn't funny to me, and I think we're seeing this with college. At the college level, we've got a pretty serious issue with integrity of the game and gambling. It's really a bigger concern for people like me who are into the college level, because there's just not enough money in college sports to provide the disincentive. Whereas at least when you're talking like NFL, NBA, even PGA golf, these guys are making enough money that they should have the brains not to jeopardize that.
Sure.
With gambling, but that is not true in college. We see Iowa State losing their quarterback because he bet on something like 300 games over the course of a couple of years. There's a legitimate security problem looming right over American gambling with the opening up of these gambling apps, and we'll see where it goes from here. Because I would not. I mean. We saw it back in the 70s. Look, where these kind of issues pop up, point shaving follows. At some point, it's going to happen. So if you like to place bets, you may have to realize, I'm being screwed by one of my own players.
Well, and probably the easiest guy to get to would be the kicker. And you mentioned an inordinate number of kicks that looked like the ball had a gyroscope in it.
Last year,
college football
wasn't a great sign.
Right. I mean, probably the kicker not getting the best in the name, image, and likeness, but an important cog there in the team.
If I were an NIL guy, I would pay the kicker.
I pay the kicker zillions. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's the linemen who are probably getting screwed in that deal.
Yeah, every kicker getting paid like it was Pete Kogelek back in the day.
You're definitely into the kickers.
Yeah. All right. Any predictions? And we're going to get to the big board here. We got it going a little bit late, so we want to get to that. But any preseason football, Adelaide?
Oh yeah. Like a couple of things in NFL preseason, like the Browns -3 tonight. They come in with that extra week game that usually plays big in the second week of the NFL.
Okay.
And then we like. Late Saturday, you've got the Battle of Los Angeles, the Rams and the Chargers. We like the over 32.5 in that one. Feel like both teams are going to come up with a very wide open offense. You look at the list of the backup quarterbacks on those teams. They're guys who like to throw the ball down the field at the college level. So I think we're looking at a fairly wide open one and a low number to combine to make an over in that spot.
That I'm doing a quick check here. It might be the lowest total on the board.
I think it was
in terms of over under numbers. Yeah,
I mean they're all within a point or two. They're all in the low 30ish to mid 30s range.
It's Defo's internet.
Okay, I was wondering if that was both of you or that's just Defo or
is stalling out.
Okay, that's good.
In honor of that, you gave your plays. Now, our favorite time of the week.
Do we want to take a break and see if we get Defo back, or what are we doing here?
I guess we can take a break if you want. All right, we'll take a quick break and see if we can get the one and only Jeff DeForest back for this week's edition of the Professor's Big Board Top 5 of the Week.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
I don't get it. I don't understand what's going on in America. And again, if you're feeling like, what the hell is the point of being a billionaire if you're going to, I mean, like, as much as Donald Trump talks about the Justice Department out to get him and witch hunt, here's a real witch hunt. The real witch hunt is Ben Affleck in an Afro wig portraying you in a major movie that is constantly advertised during the Final Four. I would take a New York indictment over this 10 times out of 10. Every day of the week and twice on Sunday, if my choices were go to prison for a couple of years over sex with a porn star or having Ben Affleck in a curly wig make you look like, and honestly, this is one of the better looking pictures. He looks like a much bigger asshole than most of the rest of the preview. Like, how you let this happen if you're Phil Knight, how you actively signed up for this if you're Phil Knight, I have no idea. Like, I assume it's just that Affleck and Damon ambushed him with this. Like, he had no idea. He signed off, and then he got to actually see what he's being made to look like. Like, Phil Knight, I mean, hey, look, we all know you have spent your life torturing children in your Chinese factories. And that's going to go down as a much more positive note than this stupid fucking movie. Like, I would much rather have them had left Ben Affleck out and made a movie about what goes on in your Chinese factories than have Ben Affleck make you look like this.
Enjoy your trip to work with lots of laughs thanks to Defo and Lubie. Now on the Defo Show.
All right, we have unlocked a secret here and unfrozen the professor. Although he now sits in a new position. There he is, back in his usual place.
Professor was fine. You were frozen.
I was frozen. Oh, okay.
That's why you left and then came back.
Okay, because I kept yakking, thinking I might be the only guy on. That's the strange part about this. It was kind of like doing Steve Lappa radio, where even though you knew the tower was down, he would ask you to do a show anyway.
Oh, God.
Right? Just in case it comes back while you're on. It's like, I'm not going to sit here and yak to the wind for 4 hours. I do enough of that with your lousy ratings on this zero-rated radio station. All right, but we do have the professor, and we have me, and we have Lubie. Let's get to the big board, Professor, for this week.
Well, this week we got some big news, obviously, in the world of sports gaming, which is the merger between Penn and ESPN.
Yes.
And the plan to launch the new Penn ESPN Bet app, which, of course, meant, number one, the jettisoning of Barstool Sports, which they seem pretty happy about anyway, as they got super paid off and got the company back. And presumably this means, crossing the fingers, the last major political hurdle in Florida kind of eliminated. Disney now in the business, so we're going to get this going, right, Ron? We're going to make this work.
You would think.
But we thought this would be a good time to look at the subject on the big board. And, of course, anytime we are talking about the state of Florida, I'd like to say a list of states that Florida is embarrassed to be a part of. But let's be honest, I think it's more that other states are embarrassed to be on a list with the state of Florida at this point, given our direction. So this week, we're going to look at the big board of states where sports betting is still illegal and some of the other things that are illegal in those states.
Very good.
Because, again, it's a list the state of Florida should be proud of, and that takes us right into number 5, which is the home of one Sarah Palin. Is the only political person I know there. The state of Alaska is a place where sports betting is illegal, and it is also apparently expressly illegal to push a moose out of an airplane. Now, in terms of gambling, I don't really know what the state of Alaska brings to the table because, let's be honest, in terms of action, the only sports they like involve some poor animal getting shot or some poor animal getting tortured. I mean, that's pretty much I guess if you were a dog sled racing enthusiast, the state of Alaska not being able to take action is a disaster in your life. But I don't know a lot of people who are sitting there watching the Iditarod. I don't know a lot of people who are like, I want to bet on shooting wolves out of a helicopter. So, and as far as these other laws, I would really like to know, Alaska, at what point was pushing moose out of airplanes such a big freaking deal in your state that you felt it necessary to make a law? I really hope this was like one mayor of a town who was an asshole, so they just wanted to make a law to spite one guy. And this wasn't actually a trend in Alaska where people were like, it'd be fun. Let's put some moose on an airplane and push them out. Like, the fact that your state felt the need to make that fucking law, to me, does not say anything good about the people of your state.
Who introduced the bill? I mean, there was action on the Iditarod because Polyman had spotted a trend many years ago. It was closers for a long period of time. Like dogs would come from and sleds would come from like 3 days behind, which is, an amazing rally. But then lately it's been all speed. So I don't know if that's due to global warming or whatever, the track condition.
Probably. It seems like global warming would have a pretty significant effect on that event.
Imagine going to the council meeting or whoever passed this legislation, some state, board, and saying, hey, listen, man, we got to stop this.
Hey, we got a real problem here. Pushing moose out of here. I'm driving along the highway, and God damn it, someone throws another moose out of an airplane. Missed my car by 5 feet. Like, what the hell?
All right, that's number 5.
One goddamn day I'd like to go to work without having to worry about a moose being pushed
coming
out
of the
airplane.
sky. States that still have no legal gambling.
That takes us to number 4.
Other silly laws, yes.
Which I again, right up there for silliness of their laws in this state. I don't know that that they necessarily match the state of Florida for just out and out evil, but in terms of just being silly, and this is a state gambling never likes place. We got the state of Utah where it is apparently illegal to ride a bicycle without using your hands. Which I got to be honest, I spent a good 3 years of my life mastering this skill when I was 10 years old. So for the state to just try to hold me back, this would be a big constitutional issue for me if I lived in Utah. I was like, look, as a 10-year-old, there aren't a lot of other skills I can do that impress people. You're not going to let me ride my bike with no hands. But I can marry. I'm 10 years old and I can marry 4 women. That's a problem for me.
Very true. Yeah. I mean, that was a thing that you wanted to master. I mean, as soon as you got the training wheels off, you wanted to, start riding with no hands.
Again, this is a state where if they pull you over for drunk driving, they say, sir, have you had any beer or alcohol tonight? And I say no. And they say, well, what about a cup of coffee?
A gentleman named Jack Daniels on the chat line, I don't know if you can see that. I guess you can, Professor, wants to know, does that eliminate unicycles?
Let's hope so, because honestly, I'm not a fan of the unicycle. I feel like the unicycle really should be reserved for Frenchmen and clowns.
Would create a public nuisance, right? You're walking on the sidewalk.
Honestly, have you ever seen somebody on a unicycle that you didn't think to yourself, what an asshole? Like, you're just showing off.
All of them look certifiably strange.
They look like jerk-offs. Like, if you're driving around on a unicycle, I'm pretty much going to assume you're a jerk-off.
Yeah, I'm thinking if you're not one of the Wallendas, get the fuck out of here. Get off this unicycle.
Are we at the circus? Then why do you have a goddamn unicycle out here?
All right, that's Utah, a law against riding a bicycle with no hands.
And gambling. Again, don't know how much of a loss this is to the gambling world, but because it's close enough to Nevada that they do like the sports in Utah, though. I mean,
you don't think the Osmonds were sending it in on the Jazz when the Mailman was playing there with Stockton?
I don't know about the Osmonds, but I mean, maybe. Maybe Donnie. I mean, they do live in Vegas.
Exactly. Spent a lot of time there. I mean, it's the old thing. Bloody glove at the crime scene. Bloody glove at OJ's house. Vegas, Utah. Probably sending it in, like there's no tomorrow. All right, that's number 4 on the big board. States that don't have gambling, in common with Florida, that also have other strange restrictions.
Number 3, and I got to admit, I'm a little surprised gambling is not legal in this state, because from what I hear about this state, it's pretty much entirely white trash bikers. And that, of course, is the state of Idaho, where, once again, as we have discussed, 75% of the population is just white trash bikers making meth and shipping it out to the other. Honestly, people may not realize this. Ryan Leaf is from the state of Idaho originally before he went to Washington State to play college. Ryan Leaf is considered like one of the success stories of people from Idaho. But in terms of their other laws, of course, their other laws are about goddamn potatoes. They don't do anything except potatoes and meth. There is a law in the state of Idaho that you can serve up to 6 months in jail if you sell a potato labeled a real Idaho potato that is yellowing, molding, or bruised. So if you sell Idaho potatoes that make the rest of the potatoes look bad, they will throw your ass in jail in Idaho. Now, apparently, you can run an outlaw banker gang and sell machine guns and meth to everybody in every state in America. And that's not that big a fucking deal in Idaho. But don't let them catch you screwing around with the reputation of the potatoes.
It's Denzel, an American gangster, talking to Cuba Gooding and saying, call it, blue dog shit, but don't call this blue magic. Yeah.
This is a brand name.
A brand name, a trademark.
Again,
like Coca-Cola.
From everything I see about the state of Idaho, like the entire citizenry are just dastardly assholes. But don't you talk shit about the potatoes. In fact, if they see this video clip, there may be a hit squad coming to me because I have said less than kind things about the potatoes.
It's illegal cigarettes, man. No trademark on there or whatever that is that you have to have to make them official. All right, very good. Number 3, Idaho, and their restrictions about selling lousy potatoes.
Number 2, and it is the state that is in a current race with Florida to the bottom. States that, despite large populations and economic prosperity for the most part, just can't stop doing stupid shit. And that is, it's Texas. Of course, gambling is illegal in Texas.
No gambling in Texas, huh?
And I don't know if you have, because they love their football and basketball.
Love it. And they love gambling, for sure.
Here's my thing. I don't know if you saw this week, but the state of Texas, it turned out this week, as part of their River Brewery program to discourage illegal immigrants, is now putting circular saw blades in between the buoys so that if you swim around the buoys, you touch the buoys, you may get a piece of yourself cut up real bad by a circular saw. What is it? Look, I got to be honest.
Yeah.
South Florida, we kind of like immigrants for the most part. We're not that bad about them. You go down to Miami, maybe it's all the beautiful women. I don't know what the deal is, but we're pretty friendly. I try to be empathetic. I try to understand people, but I do not really understand the level of hatred the state of Texas has for goddamn Mexicans. I really feel we're like 30 days away from the state of Texas introducing like a death race 2000 style race where you get points for running Mexicans over with your pickup trucks. Like
it's nuts, yeah.
Maybe it's like a cartel thing. Maybe it's drugs or violence. Or maybe there's a reason. I don't know it, but perhaps there is one. But the level of sociopathy and psychopathy involved in the state of Texas, where you get to the point like, let's put up some buoys and have a circular saw blade in between each of them.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that doesn't sound crazy.
Sounds like the warden in Shawshank. I mean, was making the rules there. This Abbott does not come across the governor of Texas as any sort of humanitarian.
Well, he does not. He does not come across as any sort of particular good guy. Unfortunately, and that's our number 1 state here. We live in the state of Florida, and every time Abbott does something crazy,
yes,
our governor's got to try to do something even crazier. So when it turned out that Texas had circular saw blades between their buoys, DeSantis had to come out the next day and make a statement. And I'm quoting here, "When I'm president, it will be legal to shoot and kill drug dealers who cut through the fence." So DeSantis is just basically going on TV and saying, when I'm president, I'm going to murder so many people. Just you wait and see. But
and delight in it also, yes.
more importantly, this is the state of Florida, a state where we're doing everything we can to, institute legalized hatred on gay people. But our governor does a commercial where he dresses up like goddamn Top Gun. You got to be consistent here, Ron. If you're going to hate the gay people the way you do, if you're going to pass anti-gay laws, don't show up as the gayest character in the history of movies in your commercial.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be the next guy to line up and be in the Village People.
Because let's be honest, you're dressing up like Maverick, and Maverick was the bottom in that movie. Iceman was totally the top. I know at the end of the movie, Maverick tries to get all butch, but what is it that he says? You can ride my tail every time. No, Iceman, you can ride mine. So again, we know who the bottom in the relationship was, Mav.
It was a new interpretation of the Iceman cometh, so to speak.
But yeah, honestly,
I knew you had to get DeSantis in there. Right? The entire big board could be DeSantis.
It's the state of Florida. How do we not have this already? I mean, we've got
I believe
the
he's
Indian
scarier than
casinos.
Trump.
We've got paramutuals on every corner. I honestly, at this point, it's not even gas stations to buy lottery tickets. I think there's dudes who just wander around with lottery machines selling tickets. It's not like we don't have gambling everywhere in this goddamn state. But this is the one we can't get past. It doesn't make any sense to me. And it's a big pie. Why aren't we just, hey, look, you want to set it up? Set it up. If you have a gambling license already, go ahead. I don't get it.
Well, it's really crazy. I mean, they're still at Harrah's now, which used to be the Isle Casino.
Right.
Now owned by Harrah's, a giant gaming operation. And they have table games. They have a few, table games, three-card poker, and some of these games that I never play. But nonetheless, and the house is not the bank. They have this old thing that I first saw in a Native American casino out in San Diego, the Sequan tribe, and you play blackjack, and somebody comes in, and they are the bank. So they pay off the losses, and they get all of the gains of the house.
Again, these you've got machines where you play roulette, you play blackjack, only it's faster and therefore more expensive.
Yes.
And deadlier to the player. And somehow that's legal.
Yeah.
But having a live table isn't legal.
I don't trust the shake of those dice in that little bird cage they have them in.
There you go. The craps game.
How come it never lands on my numbers? Never.
They shoot every 15 seconds.
Yes.
So, I don't understand.
You can't play roulette there. Yeah.
And you can't go on a Sunday and bet a football game. You can bet all this other crap that you basically can't win at. But, heaven forbid some guy goes and gets $20 of action on the Dolphins game. No, instead we want you to go buy $20 worth of scratchers that you have no prayer of ever winning a dime off of.
No, it's absolutely nuts. And then who knows what the calibration of the machines are? Well, we don't know what the regulations are, but I would imagine these machines here are paying off nowhere close to what you would get if you were in Las Vegas or even Atlantic City or other areas that have a bigger proliferation of casino gaming in there. It's crazy. DeSantis, though, I thought maybe today you were going to do the whole big board on Ron DeSantis because
I think that's eventually
he's been
coming.
so insane. I mean, so insane of late.
I think that could eventually come, but that's just like straight up political. Whereas this is the one law in terms of DeSantis that I don't like the Black History stuff. I don't like the anti-gay stuff. I don't care about the anti-Disney stuff. But like in terms of state revenue, which we could kind of use, Ron, I don't know if you noticed, but we're getting kind of killed with the whole insurance thing. Like it would be good. And, everybody left the goddamn state for the summer down here. There's no people driving around in South Florida.
No.
So we could use a couple of bucks. Maybe let's get this one worked out, Ron. Let's get a deal between the Seminoles and the parimutuel people and whoever else. Get it up and running.
I think Tommy Tuberville spends far more time in the state than DeSantis does, though.
Well, that ain't I don't know if you've seen him speak, but that ain't a great development either. Honestly.
No. I mean, that's
oh yeah,
scary.
But in terms of time in the state, DeSantis lives in Iowa now.
Yeah.
Like, every time I see him, he's talking to some crowd of 20 goddamn people at a high school in Iowa.
It's amazing. Yeah. Oh, Ron, we love you. All right, Professor. Great stuff as always. Terrific and very clever big board today. I really enjoyed that. So I'm sure our viewers and listeners did as well. Anything special coming up on the weekend? I know you have some interest in those preseason games that you mentioned.
Definitely watching some NFL preseason football. Watched a couple games last night. Did not enjoy particularly the first one as we went down in flames on Bill Belichick and the Patriots.
You
Thanks, guys.
actually bet the Patriots? Boy, that shows.
It looked like a good spot, and
you're
we were actually
disciplined,
right
yeah.
about it because we said the theory here is that the home dog and C.J. Stroud is going to be a complete disaster. I legitimately thought C.J. Stroud, most reports I read, was going to play the entire first half. He only played 2 drives, threw an interception, looked terrible on the other drive, nearly threw in a second interception. So the theory was sound. We didn't get the level of participation we were anticipating, which is the way it goes sometimes in the preseason.
It happens, yeah. Is Belichick inclined to win preseason games?
Honestly, he's go either way. Again, this
Indifferent?
was an anti-CJ Stroud play that did not work out.
Okay. All right, Professor, that's fair. All right, we'll talk to you again next week. As always, a pleasure, my friend. Thanks for joining us.
I'll see you guys.
I'm probably good if I kept Defo.
Saunter on down to the racetrack today, is my understanding, right, Lubie? Check it out. 'Cause, where are you going on this exotic vacation? If you're not taking a shit every 5 minutes?
We're going to Morocco.
Morocco?
Yes.
Weren't you there already?
No, I've never been to Morocco.
As for the Bastia pie, I know we've talked about this on Mike Mayo's Lunchbox, but make sure you get a Bastia pie while you're there. Or it might just be called a Bastia. But it's kind of a pie with like chicken and eggs and spices in a pastry shell with a little powdered sugar brush on there, maybe even a little cinnamon, and delicious, absolutely delicious. I don't know about the cinnamon, but the powdered sugar for sure. Fantastic. It was the leading dish at the Moroccan restaurant. It came as the second. It was like an appetizer, but it came as the second thing after the Moroccan salad, which is delicious, by the way. If you like kind of a spicy sort of oil and vinegar type of salad there with a different type of vegetables, not a lettuce thing, right? You got eggplant and all this other stuff on there. Great. I don't know. I mean, do you think you can get real Moroccan food in Morocco? You can't get authentic Chinese here in Florida.
I would hope. I don't know. You never. What we think about as authentic is not always the case.
People always think couscous, but that's fairly standard, right? You can get rice anywhere.
I'm not sure actually. So
yeah.
We go in September, so I'll let you know.
September? I thought you were going like this month.
It's the beginning of September.
And how long are you going to be on the road in Morocco? You're not going for like an overnight stay. This ain't a
10 days.
Spirit Airlines junket to Atlantic City. 10 big ones? Nice.
10 days. Yeah.
All right. Bring your castanets.
There you go.
And be ready. And you drink a lot of mint tea there. Mint tea.
Yes.
That's the big thing. Mint tea.
It's a very Islamic country. So
and they pour the thing. It's great, man.
Alcohol's not a big. Some places, her parents were just there, just did the trip we're going to do. They did it earlier this year. And they said some places alcohol is acceptable. Some places, a lot of places, it's not. So you do drink a lot of tea.
All right. Well, if you see people, I don't know, what color would it have been? Like kind of a reddish maroon and with a fez and the little jacket that has all the buttons on it and the pantaloon pants and a pair of like pointy yellow shoes. Picture me in that outfit.
That's great.
For a couple of years working at the Dharma Grab restaurant out there in Los Angeles. I don't know if I did that for maybe a year and a half. Good job, though. I mean, one of the better ones I've had in terms of financial return for effort. Fantastic. And superstars in there every night. Really, really kind of an exciting spot to be. And it was, I think it was authentic, Lubie. That's why it was so successful. It was very authentic. You know, they don't use utensils there in the restaurants.
No, I know.
You like that? They put like a whole chicken on the table and you pick it apart with your hands. Lemon chicken is a big dish there. Yeah, pretty simple. Pigeon? Are you inclined to eat pigeon? Pigeon. Louis, what do you think? Not the way you're feeling right now. Why am I even bringing this stuff up to you? I don't know. You got to run. Okay. We'll see you at Gulfstream Park later on today. From Michael Lubie Lubitz with the runs, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week on this program, 7 a.m. on Monday. Peeling yourself off the mat on a Monday with us. We look forward to that, and we'll see you next time as we leave you know that.
The time.
It's 9:05.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my soul.